Okay, so we're kind of going back to normal video format. We'll see how this is. I'd like to know what you prefer. Do you like when I go live? You want to mix? Do you prefer the more curated, edited videos? But we have a lot to talk about today, so let's get started. So last time when I left you, we were looking at the building tool, the building generator in Houdini, which, as you can see, I generated kind of a little city with two different types of buildings, and to distinguish them, I gave them different colors, but we're going to talk about that. We have three basic things. One, the status of this Unreal Engine issue. Two, how the roofs were made. Now, again, I followed along with the tutorial presented by SideFX that I discussed in the last video, the last week. And then I also decided I should be able to have random stuff. Okay. So, what I decided to do is kind of make a random city with two different types of buildings. And that's what you're seeing here. So let's start with the roofs. So to start with the roofs, let me go into the building. Let's make this big. Give it a lot of room so you can see it for now. Okay, so we have our subnetwork, our building from patterns, and then we're going to go, let's move this up here. We are going to go create the roofs, which is all this here. Now, one thing that's very interesting is the roofs are kind of built in. So let me show you what I mean. Let's go back here and let's take a single building here and let's see if, all right, in order to do this, we have to unlock this thing. So let's do that. That'll probably also make it easier for you to see. All right. So, building from pattern. And here we go. Here is our building from pattern with no roof. Okay. Kind of sitting there. And what we're going to do is we are going to put a null here and show you something that he actually does. Remember, there are three outputs to building from patterns. This one is the building, one is points, and this one here is floors. So we're interested in, of course, the top floor. Now, first thing that is done is it does have a group already, and we have to delete the non-selected. So anything that's not the roof is deleted. So that's all these. So what you'll see when you do this is you'll see the roofs. Then we're going to look at each what is this? This is each, I guess, polygon, I think. Let's see what we can see here. This is the other thing I did. So what we have here, when we go into this, is So we have the 4 points. And with this, we have a faucet. It's just this is just cleaning it up. Okay, so let's make this bigger so we can see something as we go through this. So right now we have that just cleaned up. And when we go here, this one here, we are, in essence, fitting a little plane here. This, because if you look before here, you don't see this the little plane, and now you do. So this is going to be the basis of making a little bit of a peak. This is our fuse, and it's kind of fuses everything together. Now this isn't, this, I think, let's see if I can find it. Maybe it was this one. Okay, I think this is where we so we get the edge distance. We're going to bring that along. I think there was something, offset surfaces. That's because if you do offset curls, you don't get anything. So we'll say offset surfaces. But there was something else. Again, this should be alternating reachability. There was one point where we had to do something from inside to outside. Because if we didn't do it, maybe it's in the, no, maybe, well, we'll go through them and we will find this. So this is the fuse, this is the makes it into something we can work with. And then we do, this is, we're making the vertex into a point. So let's look at that on here. And we have all points. Now this is an attribute wrangle. Now this is how I set the height. Now he just did it equals to edge list. I thought that was a little too aggressive a roof. So I made this half. This would, you can even make it less aggressive. Make it a third. And then this is another subnetwork. So let's go in here. What is this? Oh, okay, I'm in the wrong. This is set root height, and this is a subnetwork. And basically what we're doing here is we're cleaning stuff up. We're doing our bevel. This is where we generate this little bevel. Because if you look here, so we come in and we got this. And the group we have is the border. We're creating a group with the border. And the way we're doing it is unshared edges. Then what we're doing, so we're getting the unshared edges which surround it. We're going in here and we're just getting our edge group to curve. So we have this little line here thing. And let me move this so you can see it better, hopefully. All right. You can see. So you've got these lines. Now, we're just going to do a clean. Then we're going to do our sweep. This is similar to what you see in cinema. And we're telling it to compute UVs. And we're setting how wide we want it. We're making it a square tube, just like you put a square along a spline in cinema. We're making the width. Then, of course, we want to bevel it. So this is all poly bevel, and we can decide how much we want to bevel it. And that would be here. And then, of course, the color, so we know that it is what it is. And then we have the rest of the roof. So this is about giving it the right poly stuff. So you go for each piece or point, and we get the normals. Let's see what we got here. So you can see we're getting the display normals. Those little points. All right. Let's make it. You can see a little normal there. And then with this, what we're doing is we're trying to calculate the angle. No, best I can tell. You set y as 0, and then you get this angle, which if you look, it's 180 on this one, so it's all by 90s. Then here, we're calculating the location. So we're getting the center of all the points, and then we're getting a point based on the angle. And let's see if there's any difference so you can see. And that's it for each. Then we do a UV transform, which we can scale. He did 0.1, I did 0.2 because it didn't look good. Let me show you what I'm talking about. If it's 0.1, which he did, it would not be squares. And of course, in UVs, you like squares. Then you merge the top of the roof with the beveled part, and you output it. And that's our roof. It's fairly complex, what he did. And again, you can make this less or more aggressive. And come up, we come up, we come up. And I'm just going to do match current definition to put a lock back on this, as you can see. So that was the one thing we did. Now the other thing we did is, let me just look in here again. Are we still? That's right. Okay. Oh, because I have points on. You can see it's getting. Now, this is the other very interesting thing. I said I want to be able to scatter random buildings. Now, right now, I have 2 buildings. One is using the merge of these two boxes. One is just using the second box. I gave them different colors so we can easily distinguish. And this was a method, Pixel Fondue. Very good YouTube channel to subscribe to if you're doing this stuff. And here's the technique. We had a little hang up there, and we were talking about the copy to points, about making the city. So let me straighten this out here. Okay, so you have the two buildings, and they go into a switch, which is inside this for each. And the output of the switch, well, let's see what this is here. Let's move this all up, and that'll help make things a little clearer, I think. So the switch has the two buildings. And what happens is from the begin, you have the output to the switch going to copy to points. And you have the output from the for each going to copy to points. And what you have here is this attribute randomize. And on the switch, you have select input, which if you click on here, so it's based on the index of the point. The spare input is for each begin, and that's probably where this is coming in. Yeah. So this is a spare input here. And this, I believe, is telling it kind of where it's getting the stuff it needs for this select input. And then the selected building comes out here and is copied to the point. So this is how you get the randomized the randomized value. So for example, we're going to go back and I want to show you, oh, it's up here, way up here. Whoop. And you hit this little arrow and you can say split pane top bottom. And on our bottom tab, what we're going to do is we're going to add the geometry node, which is a inspector. Okay, and if you go here, if you click on a node, remember, this is all data driven. So here we go. So what you have here is an index. And the index is what feeds the switch. So it's looking at our index. So it's looking for for this particular point. We're going to use this point method. Let's see if we can show you something here. If you go on this and you hit F1, it should brings up the, so let's go here and type point. And here's our point. Let's look at this. Now, if you look here, it's inputting, giving you one of these values depending on where it is. I'm a little confused here because this is not showing me the full thing. You know what we could do? Let's go, to really see this, let's go to one of our attribute wrangles. Well, let's just put an attribute wrangle. Here we go. Attribute wrangle. We're going to stick this here. And then we're going to do here we go. So you can see things into file point number and the point number to read the attribute on. But we had, was it 0, 0, 0, something like 0, -1, index 0, and it's not, yeah, so I'm a little confused at why here, I think this is the one, or here, we were able to use -1, 0. So there may be another type of point. Let's see something. Okay, so it's a little confusing. I'm going to have to do a bit more on this. But what happens here is it uses this calculation to select one of these two inputs, and then it copies that to the point. Now, point itself is, when I looked it up, it is a little confusing because it seems to indicate 3 items. In this case, we got 4. So that was a little confusing to me, but it does give you a random selection from these, and it gets the index from attribute randomize. So it creates a random index, and that's how it determines, which you can see, attribute randomize. Let's go here. You see, creates an index, which is a point, and it, as you can see, when you go down here, you get do get random buildings. Whoa. Random buildings with roofs. You get the pink buildings and the blue buildings, and the sizes are random, and you know, we can vary the scale, and I made the scale a little bit. I had to play with that a little bit to get it to fit in this context rather than in the context of the box that we used last time. So that is where we are with the buildings. We can create a full building. Now, of course, you know, you'd want to make the first floor a little bit different on these buildings and maybe have some more buildings. But the general concepts that we discussed over this time and last time, how you make the different floors, and then you select patterns, right, in the in this no, it's not letting me, but in the node here, that the building from patterns node, and how you create the different floors using the generator. And now today we've discussed or you looked at his example of how you made roofs. which was kind of interesting. Techniques I have not looked at before, where you're basically creating uh, essentially a different vertices, and then you're varying the height. You set the height of the vertice depending on how peaked you want it, or you can make it very small if you really don't want a peaked roof. So anyway, that is all for the buildings right now. Now, to kind of complete the tale from where we are, I have been in touch with SideFX through their support. Went back and forth with them about the issue of the patterns not being generated in Unreal Engine in their Unreal Engine tool or plugin. And after going back and forth and sending them copies of my HDA and trying different things and trying the latest, which is I think production as of the last few days is 5.6.9. And you have to make sure when you update, get not just Houdini, but you have to install the SideFX tools, and then you need to. So this is this launcher, so you can do the engine plugin from here in Unreal. You can install it. You can install Houdini. You can install the lab packages. So from here, you can install everything that you need to update. And again, the last one I have is 5.6.9, 5.8.9, 5.6.9. And so you probably want to update to the latest. The latest engine plugin may work with 5.2. It may not. They wouldn't guarantee it works with 5.2. So, and of course you can go on their GitHub. Let me see if I have it up and I can show you. Yeah, they have their GitHub. Let's bring that over here. Let's see where we are. So the latest that they're showing is 5.6.9. Let me do a refresh on this here. Yeah. So this is the latest releases that they have. If you go to SideFX, you got Labs, you got Houdini Engine for Unreal, of course Niagara, and I believe this is an older one, Unreal Engine 4 version 2. This is for 5. This is the one you want. And of course SideFX Labs. And this looks like their releases are out of date, but as you can see, you can get the actual code and build it. And they go into details on that. So anyway, hopefully this has been helpful to you. And if you're playing with the building generator, and you can see with a little, using that switch node and a little bit of trickiness from Pixel Fondue there, you can generate multiple types of buildings. And like I said, I gave them color just so you can distinguish. The blue buildings are the single box, the pink are the double box. You have so much variety. You can pretty much generate a whole city here. And that's the power of this procedural stuff. This is why Houdini is so popular and why I strongly recommend, if you're going to get into the 3D, you should make an effort to get familiar with Houdini. And because there are times like this, it's going to be invaluable. You can, even if you're not, obviously if you're doing stuff on Unreal, to be able to take an HDA for a building and just bring it in, well, once we get it working, and once they fix their bug, and then be able to use it in any of your Unreal Engine scenes. Even without that, of course, you can always save stuff to an Alembic. You can probably even take this and output the result of this to an Alembic and bring it in Unreal Engine and have, create a city right there to start off your scene. And of course, again, because it's procedural, you can adjust the, let's see, how much you want to scatter, which is scatter points and max radius, min radius, uniform scale. I think this was, did I change? I don't know if I changed that. You can change the point generation. You can put a link. There's so much you can do with this particular node using the randomize, and that's what led into this passing an index in each time that can be used by the switch node to determine what they want to, which of the two buildings, or it could be more buildings that it wants to, that it wants to put on that particular point. So anyway, again, hopefully this has been helpful. If you enjoy this, you want to see more, then please subscribe. Likes always help as well. And I will speak to you next time. Take care.